Narcissists using arguments for ulterior motives. And this happens a lot. This is one of the narcissists' bread and butter. Especially for those of you who are in relationships with them. It's used a lot in those situations. I want to go. Let's just jump right into it. We gotta mess around with it. So, there's been many cases in which narcissists will use an argument to disguise a hidden motive. And what I mean by that is that narcissists use this creative argument type thing and tactic in some cases to create what appears to be a reasonable reason for separation, the silent treatment, justified punishment, or cheating. Okay, it can be many of these things. In some cases, based on how they feel, and they feel like you treated them wrong, they'll try to stir up an argument so that they can go and say something negative or something back to you in that situation. This basically, in order for this to work, the narcissist has to have had a period of time around you to study you and how you will react to certain situations. Specifically, arguments, right? Arguments that they blow way out of proportion and making that person, get really angry, right? And see, they need to see how you respond once they have initiated an argument or a silent treatment or ghosting you, right? And they need to know how you carry on with them afterwards, at least. So after this has been done and they come running back in, do you allow them back with no qualms? Are you happy upon their return? Is there still a connection? Or is the connection still intact? Are you dismissive of them or what? They have to see and study the aftermaths of what was done and how they come back. And this is why when narcissists return, they usually try to come in bearing gifts or, really trying to give you, high level treatment and fake epiphanies and apologies and so forth, right? It's very important because that gets them to see where your threshold is, where are your boundaries at? How far can I get away with something like this, right? Because this is gonna show me how much space I have to maneuver within this situation that they're engaged with you in, right? And so this is just one of the ways that narcissists become such excellent cheaters. They understand very well how your temperament at least works, right? And then they learn exactly what to do and say to get you back in good graces and accepting them. They know what to do and say because they've done it before and they've caught on to the pattern of how you operate, right? And once they have figured your pattern out, they know where your boundaries are automatically. You can tell them one thing, but your actions is what they're going to look for. So when a situation comes up in which maybe they want to go out with someone who they've had their eye on for a period of time, but don't want you to know, well, they can use the fake argument to fulfill their plan or to initiate that plan. And the first thing is creating something out of nothing. Usually using or putting you in a position to argue about something that had already previously been resolved. So you thought, right? And a narcissist brings it up, or the narcissist does something that they know would get on your nerves or that they know would make you angry. Right? Very important to do this because this is setting the stage for them to carry out this fake argument tactic. The second thing is they exaggerate, they go into exaggeration, or they blow out of proportion what they're arguing about. A lot of times it doesn't even make any sense for them to be arguing about what they're arguing about, or even bringing up what they're bringing up. And this is usually where the narcissist will pretend to lack understanding. It's very important to lack understanding for the narcissist in this tactic. And why is that? And that is because whatever is left with no, if something is left with no understanding, there can be no resolve. And leaving something unresolved buys the narcissist time to have a valid reason to leave, or to trigger you to leave, but also giving them the option to come back later with the understanding packaged. It'll be packaged up just right for you, right? Now, when they come back, that's to ensure that you will accept them and their fake apology. Meanwhile, they were out having fun, fulfilling their agenda or whatever they were doing. But this is all manufactured. The narcissist understood from the get-go. They knew exactly what they were supposed to do and what not to do. They understood the argument and what it was and from the get-go. But they had to play stupid, and they had to use it so that they can create the separation. And in that period of time, when you and the narcissist are at odds with each other, and you're focused on what made the argument happen in the first place, and why are they even bringing something stupid up like that? On the other hand, the narcissist is out doing their thing under the disguise of being mad about an argument. In conclusion, right? And that's not, hold on, before that, sometimes it's not even an argument. Sometimes it's just they'll deliberately have a disagreement and then turn the disagreement into an argument. When they don't really disagree, they just know how to create arguments out of nothing at any given time to create a situation where they can either be mad at you, or create the separation, etc. This is something that they do well. They've been doing this from, adolescent years. I mean, they know how to pull this off effectively. So, all I have to say to wrap this video up, guys, if you're in an argument with someone about something that makes no sense to you, or someone's getting mad out of nowhere for no reason, or blowing something way out of proportion that had no business going there in the first place like that, especially if it's something that you thought you've already resolved, it's probably a decoy. It's probably some type of scheme, tactic, plot that's being used against you and will, put you in a situation to being played. Right? So just to sum this up, don't allow yourself to overlook things like this. It's not all in your mind. It's if you're questioning in your head and got to say, why are they even arguing about this? It makes no sense. Especially if they're not even able to make points, valid points on their arguments. That's the number one thing to look at. If someone is making an argument or a complaint and there's no legitimate valid points, anything factual basis to prove that their argument is valid even, you have a problem. You have a definite problem. And you should not overlook that problem, because it'll come back to bite you in the ass later. Why the narcissist avoids reality. Okay. Reality for them is painful. Okay. You have to understand that these individuals go through life ducking, dodging certain responsibilities, certain aspects of their life that they don't want to face, that they never, really took into account of to deal with. And so as life passes them, as they grow older, and this thing that we call life starts to reveal certain realities to them, it brings on pain. It brings on a lot of pain. And this is where you'll find them, wanting to escape. This is the whole thing about escaping with them. Okay, the only reason why they tend to want to escape and go into these altered states is to get away from the feeling of that hurt, that emptiness, that loss. Okay, they have to deal with the pain and the realization of where they are in their lives and what they've went through, how many opportunities and things like that they may have missed, or whatever it may have been. That's a painful reality to have to face in the end. It's a painful and a very rude awakening for the individual to come to grasp with whatever's happening is basically their own doings. Their own neglectful ways of handling things have come back to haunt them. And they'll find that things that they try to correct are a lot harder to deal with later down the line than it would have been if they would have dealt with it initially. These individuals, they run from it. They avoid, they hide. And then later down the line, when they get the certain realizations that certain things need to be dealt with or whatever it may be, it's that much more difficult. And then they have to reflect and look back on all the missed opportunities that they could have taken advantage of and corrected or made the situation right, but they didn't. And this is where that pain and regret comes in. This is why the escape, the seeking to escape, is such an alternative for them. I just wanted to bring this up because I had a question regarding it, so I wanted to throw that out there on how and why they choose to seek to escape reality, avoid reality, because it's painful. It's painful. And it's frustrating. It reminds them of so many failures and things that they never completed. So just wanted to throw that video out there for y'all. This was a short one. It's not much to go into on it. I just wanted to cover the question that was asked, but that's pretty much why these individuals, through neglect, have to come back and face their mistakes. And sometimes facing those mistakes can be hard to deal with, can be hard to accept, which can be painful, which would only explain the reason why they would choose to ignore, run away, or not deal with it.
Good morning. Thanks for tuning in to Narcology Unscripted. This is Dave. Today's subject is going to be what they really meant when the narcissist read their vows. We all know that they hide behind this veil, this facade, this mask, and everything is predicated on the believability of this mask, guys. And a lot of us will beat ourselves up saying that, how could I have been so duped, so tricked? But you have to understand, they've been honing this mask since childhood. They've been studying it, guys. They've been going to school, and they've had a lot of failures at first, but by the time they met you, they really had this mask honed, this skill honed. They studied at the University of Fake People, guys. Trickery State University. And they made the Dean's List every single year, guys. This is what they do. And they seek out people like you that are giving, selfless, altruistic, attractive, successful. And if you check off most of those boxes, guys, they deem you as that person that they want to lock down. They want to lock you down as soon as they can, because they understand the mask slippage happens, and they want to hurry up and lock you down before there's any slipping of the mask. And what they do is they project all those boxes that they checked off. They mirror that back to you. So you're thinking to yourself, I should commit, because this commitment seems like it's going to be the best decision of my life. They put you in the pilot's position, and they sit in the co-pilot's position, just cooing at you, and their eyes are sparkling, they're smiling, and you think to yourself, I'm a dumb man or woman if I don't lock this person down. This is how good they are. They have become your soulmate, the wind beneath your wings. Go ahead and take a nap. I'm going to take over the controls, and you'll have food waiting for you when you awake. So how about that commitment, huh? How about that commitment? Are you ready to do this? And you're like, this is a chance. They make you believe that this is a chance, guys, of a lifetime. They've made you all the promises. They've convinced you. You even made it a little hard to lock down, because you are salt of the earth and you're looking for like-minded individuals, like most of us are. So they got you to commit, but you have to understand what commitment means to a narcissist. And that is nothing. They want you to commit to them, because commitment means you're going to sacrifice. You're going to sacrifice for this one person, and you're going to be loyal, and you're going to respect this person that you committed to. The narcissist is kind of laughing inside, because he knows he doesn't form a bond or an attachment, but it's crucial, very crucial, that their targets commit to them. So they get you to put a ring around their finger, to make that commitment, that promise ring, right? And what do? They're still seasoning you. They're still letting you know that you're making the best decision of your life. And you get all the way to the altar. You get all the way to the altar. In hindsight 2020, I know all of us who have married a narcissist have said on many occasions that they really don't care about their vows. They really don't honor their vows. Guys, they don't honor anything. Nothing about these creatures are honorable, guys. And so I made up of what they really meant when you married them up at the altar. I, narcissist, take the target to be my wedded wife, to push and to pull from this day forward for rich and richer, in health only, to mimic love and to envy until the jig is up and the mask slips. I then will disappear into thin air with somebody else, while still married to you. You will be so disgusted, it will make you file and pay for the divorce quickly. Now let's hurry up and get the kiss over with so I can soak up all this supply I'm getting around us at this said wedding. Pastor, make sure you toast with the special Kool-Aid that your new hubby made for the celebration. He should start in no time at all to make you feel not good enough. Don't worry about the attractive blonde sitting in the back row. They are just friends from high school. Although he will start to triangulate the two of you at the reception. Do they mean what they do? Yes. They're very calculating. They understand that they don't form a bond, guys, in an attachment.
When does the punishment stop from a narcissist? When do they finally just give up? When does it stop? To look at this, to give further consideration to this topic and the subject at hand, we have to look at the very two components that are critical to enabling the narcissist to continue their rampage. And that is hope and emotional reaction, okay? Your emotions and hope, those two things keep the narcissist locked into your domain. How is this? Well, number one, hope. Hope begets a certain expectation of something developing, whatever that ideal may be in your mind, of something becoming or transforming into something better or more acceptable in the eyes of the person who is emotionally tied to the narcissistic individual. The emotions are the backing to the hope. Okay? So emotion feeds hope. And hope kind of locks a person in. It's what gives them the ability to want to stick around, to overlook certain things. Okay? Eradicate the hope, and you'll watch and you'll notice the emotions start to fade. Okay? Once you make a sound declaration to yourself and to the narcissist that you are fully done with them and you will no longer emotionally react to them, then they can't hurt you. This is the first beginning step in you, but you have to mean it. You have to get to a point where you stop expecting anything out of them, from them, or from the situation. And you start to go within, pull your emotions back into yourself, and stop transferring them outwardly towards this hope and expectation of something better out of the narcissist. Once you make this declaration, you have to mean it. It's one thing to just go no contact, but you can't just go no contact and not really meaning to be fully done with this person. That won't do you any good. That's called a break. It's not finalizing. Okay? You can go no contact for a while, but if you go right back, then you just took a break. All right? No contact. The purpose of no contact is to finalize. Not to get away for a while, clear your head. We're not talking about that. We're talking about completely finalizing the interaction, situation, and knowing of that narcissist. When you are able to do that and you stick to it, of course the narcissist doesn't immediately just vanish and go away. No. They have to prove that you're not just taking a break from me. They have to prove that you're not just trying to punish them by doing what you're doing. Okay? This is why the no contact only works when you have the very full understanding that you are completely done and that nothing that they do you will allow to affect you emotionally, and you will not react to it. Thus, you will cease to exist in the mind and the reality of the narcissist. Now, like I said, they'll continue to come at you. You know, they'll stalk you. They'll try to make little attempts. I like the word you use, fake epiphanies, to really make you see, well, I've changed and so much has happened to me, and these last 30 days have completely turned me around from being the whack sicko that I am. And you, if you have pulled your hope and destroyed that hope of expectation of something better, you won't even fall for that. Thus, your emotion will not be able to feed into the hope aspect to just hearing something that sounds good. Okay? After that point, narcissist sees no reaction. They get a little desperate. Okay? The source is really going, slipping. And what does a drowning man do? They reach for anything they can grab a hold to. This is when the narcissist comes up with the most horrendous type of tactics to really break you. Let me see if you're really done with me. Let me see if you don't have any emotions or any feelings towards me anymore. Let me do this. Let me do that. Let me call the police on you. Let me fake allegations. And when none of those tactics works, and of course you have to protect yourselves, guys, because these individuals will go to the most unexpected extremes that you can think of in order to get their supply back, being you. Again, I say this all the time, narcissists hate to lose. They feel that you need them. And once you really show them you don't need them by ignoring them, and not just ignoring, guys, I mean just being fully done with them. Once you've set it up in your mind and your heart that you're done, nothing they do will work to affect you. And once you're in that state of mind, everything that they do therefore on will further distance you from them. It'll open your eyes to just how fucked up these individuals are, and it will push you away. Okay? So you have to understand, the torment doesn't stop until you have fully emotionally disconnected and eradicated any type of hope and expectation out of these individuals or out of the situation. even looking to get revenge. That's still connecting you. Narcissists accept any type of attention. My narc probably still accepts this attention. You know, that's just part of who they are. But the most important thing, you want to get rid of them out of your life. Once you've shown that you have no emotional ties to them anymore, and you're not responsive to anything that they do emotionally to you to manipulate, they're done. They're done. And they know it. And trust me, they'll do their little tactics to get back in, but after a while, they know the only key for a narcissist, the only power a narcissist has with people is to be able to emotionally deceive them. Once they cannot emotionally deceive you anymore, they're powerless. They're powerless. There's nothing that they can do at that point. When you have no type of emotional response to where they can't affect you, they can't hurt you, they can't do any of that, the narcissist will walk away. They're not going to put up a fight in that position, in that standpoint, to still try to, especially if they've done things to permanently damage something irreversible that they can't get back in on. It's a done deal. It's a wrap. Your narcissist will just move on to easier prey, easier targets that don't know about them. And they can start all over, and they'll focus their attention on that. People who they still stick around and try to get to is those who they still know have some inkling of hope left in them. So as I said, when you get rid of hope, and that hope is completely gone, you're basically starting the process of completely ridding yourself of this narcissistic individual. And trust me, there's not really a whole lot of fight in them, guys. Once you've gotten to a certain point of resisting and not reacting to them, to where they don't see any type of they're not getting anything, they'll fade away. They'll fade away. For them, it's like being in a dark room. And hope is the light. So if you want to turn the lights out on a narcissist, you get rid of that hope. Leave them blinded in the dark. And they'll go seek light elsewhere. But they'll leave your light alone. That is the most important thing. They're not going to fight after they've seen that they can't affect you emotionally. There's nothing there you're impenetrable at that point. They can't get to you. You already know who they are. You know what they're about. And you made a firm, sound decision to stick to your position and honor the declaration that you made to yourself. That is how you get rid of a narcissist. That is how you stop the punishment. The punishment is only fulfilling, guys, if it affects someone else. If the punishment is ineffective, then what good is the punishment? So you have to understand, this is how the narcissist interprets these things in their mind. If I can still get to you, if I can still make you jealous, if I can still hurt you, if I can still get under your skin, if I can still aggravate you, they are still there. And there's that word again, there's still hope. Which means there's still a way for them to get back in. But if none of those things are able to be accomplished, they can't get to you emotionally, it's a wasted cause. They'll move on, trust me. They won't try to come back. They can't. They're not strong individuals, guys, and they don't put up fight for anything. If it's a serious fight or a battle to go up against, the narcissist is not gonna go up against it. They'll move on and go seek another source out. And this is how you get rid of a narcissist permanently. Once they see there's no hope and no emotional tie there anymore, that's a battle they can't win. Narcissists do not want to engage in battles that they may come out on the losing end of. They'll leave that alone quickly. So if you want to stop the punishment, the torment, all of this back and forth stuff, get rid of the hope and cut off the emotional ties. And watch how quickly your narcissist begins to fade out of your life. Something to think about, guys. Something to think about. I've seen it work. I just want to put this video out. I hope it helps those of you who have had those questions in your mind. Continue to like, support, and subscribe. Share these videos. Also, tune in every Wednesdays to the ASSC Direct Radio Show. We have various topics on there. Some of those give you the ability to interact live. Again, my ebook is also out. Has a lot of tactics and stuff in there for you to use. It'll be in the description box if you want to go check it out. But yeah, guys, really do pay attention to your expectations being with that hope and the emotions. If you make that declaration that you are done, stick to it. Do not allow yourself to be affected or react to the narcissist. And watch how fast they fade.
When you've had enough and start to strike back at the narcissist, what is it that they mainly fear about that? And so we have to understand with toxic people, okay, and narcissists, there's one main thing that they must do when they come across dynamic, virtuous people, okay, people that do display power, people that do display strength, right? They must immediately, okay, because here's what happens. They're attracted to you because of those virtues, right? And they are drawn to you because of that. They admire that. They want to be around that. But they want to be able to get you to render those virtues over to them, to give them your power, your love, your admiration, all of the strength that you hold within you. If you're giving it to them, think about the impact and how that benefits them. Think about how that makes them feel to get that from a powerful, dynamic person. A very potent source of supply for them, right? But how is it in the first place that they're even able to get you to render this over to them, right? They have to trick you, basically. And they have to do this by grooming you and setting you up for abuse. The abuse strips away your powers because now you, in somewhat, you be, in so many ways at least, you become like a POW, a prisoner of war, or a prisoner to the narcissist. And they do this, and most of the time when you run into people who are toxic, people that are narcissists or whatnot, they will immediately begin to become very oppositional to any of the skill sets, talents, structure, the reliability, all the things that make you a virtuous, wonderful person. They have to become oppositional to all of that wholeheartedly, right? Why is that important? Why is that important for the narcissist to be able to do to start to break you down, right? It's important because when a person becomes contrary to everything that you may be standing for, or that you may have as a skill set, or a certain confidence about yourself, when that person becomes oppositional to that, it starts to create doubt. It makes the subject or the target doubtful. It starts to cause them to second guess themselves, to make them insecure, right? And this is done so that the narcissist can slowly start locking you into their control. The narcissist has to do this. This is one of the main purposes of them doing that. And when you start to doubt yourself, this can create certain triggers of self-esteem issues in you that you may have currently, or that you may have overcome from the past. And the narcissists, they have a way of knowing how to affect you in these ways, right? Everyone, I mean, no human being is impenetrable, but the narcissist tries to play on and attack your virtues and the things that you are confident in, the things that you do feel strongly in, okay? And the things which you do feel strongly and have the most confidence in is where they have to attack first, because that is going to be the heaviest opposition to them controlling you. A confident person that stands their ground and stands strong and firm in their belief of knowing who they are is not very easy to break down for the narcissist. It's a lot harder to capture that type of individual. So the narcissist has to work overtime at discrediting things that may be of completely obvious. They have to discredit that to you. They have to make you put doubt. They have to always go against it. If even down to the point, if you like a certain sports team or something like that, they have to like the opposite team. They have to always be in opposition to you, never in agreement, right? Okay. And the thing is, the reason why they're doing this, and they'll work it and they'll play it in a certain way to where the things in which you may have no interest in or a desire for, these are the things they will patronize you with and support you with, so that they begin to slowly create an ass backwards person that is dysfunctional and doesn't really have the confidence in what they've worked so hard to build on to make them in the first place. But this is the main thing you have to understand. Why the hell did they pick you in the first place? Right? If they don't like all these things about you, why they even gave you the time of day in the first place? That's clue number one. That they are trying to brainwash you and manipulate you into being their next victim, their next source of supply. Okay? They're trying to create within you all of the things that would cause you to still be able to supply them with these virtuous things that you have, but to also make you doubtful and lacking in good judgment on just to where this is coming from. Because most don't necessarily figure out that the enemy is right with you. This is the person you need to be getting rid of. Okay? They do this stuff a lot of times too by breaking you down by, for example, they'll say, for example, stuff like, why are you yelling at me? Why are you getting so mad? Right? And this is so you don't utilize your strength and abilities and intelligence to continue tearing that ass down when you start digging off into them. They don't like when you start to really get on them and you're displaying your intelligence and how dynamic of a person that you are. That overwhelms them because they are weak. You have to understand that they are weak. And the more dynamic you are and the more powerful and intelligent you are to them, It intimidates them. It immediately gives them an inferiority complex, right? It gives them an inferiority complex, making them feel inadequate because they want to be able to receive this wonderful person while not giving you the praise and compliments and stuff that you really are on a consistent basis. Because after a while, you're going to see that they don't have shit to offer. They're weak. And you're going to see that you're actually giving your power away to them. So this is why when you run into these type of people, they immediately want to downplay everything that you're doing. And this is coming from an envious and jealous, hateful mindset. They can't stand it. Think about it. Narcissists respect power. They respect power. But they don't like the idea or the thought of that same power that you possess to be used on them. They don't want you to start digging off in their ass with that power. They don't want that. Because that means that you can just tear them to smithereens. So they have to break you down and domesticate you to their likings first and keep you there. And not allowing you to perform or to exist in that power and that nature of who you really are and what you've worked so hard to get to. They don't want you to be able to do that because you will naturally preside over them and they want to preside over you. This is how they have to keep their sources of supply. Right? They don't want for you to display resilience, power, strength, and sound reasoning. They hate that. Think about it. They hate authority. There's a reason why they hate authority. Because authority has the power over them. Anything that has authority is a threat to them. So the main thing and the biggest reason why narcissists, right? The biggest reason why they, when you start to strike back at them, why it strikes fear in them, why a lot of them will get ghosted, or why a lot of them will begin to, leave the scene and get the hell out of Dodge themselves, is because they realize that you have realized your own power over them. The very thing that they try to strip you of and use you for as a tool. They start seeing that, they're waking up. They're realizing that I ain't shit and I don't have any power. I just manipulated and tricked you and used tactics to make you feel as though you were less than who you really were. They use tactics and stuff and brainwashing techniques to make you feel inadequate, to make you feel not as good as you are, knowing that the work you've put in to be the person that you have gotten to this point. Everything that you've done makes you, and if you are a dynamic person, you know what you did to get there. They know what you did to get there, but guess what? They cannot acknowledge that. They cannot praise you on that continuously. Because if they were to do that, they would be allowing you to preside over them with that authority and that power. What good would that be, or what good of use would that be to them if they have nothing and they're the weak ones? Why would you keep them around if you knew the true nature that they didn't have anything to offer to you anyway, and they weren't about anything themselves? So they have to break you down, bust you down psychologically to their level to make you think that you are equal to them. You are not equal to them, though. You are not equal to them. You're greater than them. And they know this. And this is why they have to attack you. This is why they have to be so oppositional. right? This is the whole game. This is it, y'all. That's what it's about. The narcissist absolutely fears for a source to wake up and recognize their own power and greatness over them. So whenever you have someone trying to tear you down, or if you have someone who is greatly oppositional to you, of course, people aren't just going to agree with anybody, but this is all strategic. This is systematic with how they operate with this, because people who start doing that and they're intentionally resisting or are not trying to give you your proper credit, and they're not trying to acknowledge your greatness, and they always downplay it, or they may try to make you doubt it, or they try to compare others in other situations without just giving your credit where it's due. This is a toxic person. That is a toxic person, and that is probably someone who is highly narcissistic as well. Definitely they have an inferiority complex. There's no need to tear anyone down at all. Let people be the individuals that they are. If that's what they're into, if they've accomplished and that's what they did to get to where they are, applaud that. There's no need to try to tear them down because you feel inferior to them. But this is how the narcissist operates. They have to, in order to keep the supply in the first place. When a person wakes up and realizes that, hey, I am special. Hey, I do deserve where I'm at to be in life and to be what all that I've went through and accomplished. I have the receipts. I have things to show for. I am productive. All of these things, when you start breaking these things down about yourself and you realize sometimes y'all got to just go back and just think about everything that you put in work to become who you are. Don't ever let somebody tear you down from that or make you deviate from the understanding of what it took to even get there in the first place. Because the people who are doing that's coming from a very envious, jealous heart, as I said before. And these are the individuals, when you see this, any person you see being so oppositional in that way, immediately leave them alone. They are going to be no good to you, and they are more than likely toxic, and they're going to spread that toxicity upon you. And they're going to start making you lack the confidence that you have and built up, and the good judgment. It's not a good thing psychologically to be around those type of individuals. So the main key thing, I just said it, I don't want to sound like a broken record, but if you start seeing that, if you start seeing someone discrediting you, unnecessarily discrediting you, they have a ulterior motive that they are trying to put into place, and it will do you no good. Beware of narcissist fake positivity, all right? You have to pay close attention, especially around the holidays, to these individuals, these narcissists, when they come out, or you're seeing this overly positive type individual who's putting out stuff about being positive. Okay, narcissists, especially around this time of the year. Greetings, everyone. But especially around this time of the year, narcissists are giving you the fake positivity. All right, and we're gonna get into this because I did a live on my Instagram earlier. For those of you, you can go to my Instagram at ASSC Direct if you haven't joined on there. I do a lot more
lives, I'm a lot more frequent with activity on there. So, but let's get into this. So, typically, when you encounter someone, and this is I think this is important, who is either it can be religion too, all right. It can be religion where the individual is using something to gain your trust, like religion, or like being this kind of like holistic spiritual person, right? And once you get into that, once you start paying attention to it, you have to kind of like home in on that aspect of what they're doing, right? So you get around a narcissist, and they're initially, or what they're putting out there is to be this individual that is given all these positive accolades about who they are and what they stand for, right? And basically, this is what I talk about, rocking you to sleep, wooing you, and getting you to let your guards down, especially the ones that come with the spiritual word, where they come with the word of the Bible. They're trying to get you to let your guard down, right? Because they're anything but spiritual. They're not into the word, they're not into the Bible, they're not into any of that. But they trick you, they dupe you, because you hear them, and I've said this before, you hear them quoting scriptures like nobody's business. And to you, this is like, wow, this is amazing. This person is really into the word. This person really is speaking the gospel. And you feel like you can open up to them. You feel like you can let your guard down. But that's exactly what they want. That's what they want to do. That's what they want to get you to do, is let your guard down. Because now you feel like, well, this person can't be, immoral. They can't be, someone who is not, involved in having principles, right? If they are that deep into the word. So you begin to trust them, and you begin to open up to them, because you figure this person, if they're that into the word, they must be about something good. They must have something about themselves that is positive to offer, right? And that's what when we get into that, and we start looking at that, and we're like, wow, okay, well, let me open up a little bit more. Let me give in a little bit more. Let me befriend them. Let me try to get to pull this person into my world. That's exactly what they want. And that's how they get in. That's how they get in. If you go with a problem, the first thing they're going to open up with is some scripture. Okay? Anything you go to them with, they're going to open up with some scripture to you. And you start feeling like, wow, this is such a positive person. This is somebody I need to tell everything to when I'm in a jam, or when I'm going through some things, right? And so even the other way, when they're being this positive type when it's excessive, put it this way, guys, when you see it excessive like that, they're full of shit. I just have to call it for what it is. No one, let's say this, if you're a person that is a good person, you don't have to go around broadcasting that you're a good person. You just be that. You don't have to push it out there. You don't have to push who you are out there to someone. You let your actions speak. But a lot of times, guys, especially with these narcissists, you start seeing them constantly really, really emphasizing on either being positive, or being someone who is trustworthy into the word, or something like that. You see them really going to town with it. You see it everywhere. You see them speaking about positive this, positive that, or every 2 minutes they're quoting some part of scripture that they memorized but have no attachment to the word whatsoever. Right? And so this is the narcissist game, where they try to remake themselves And they usually try to cloak or cover themselves in something that has a reputation for being moral, for being something that is held with principle. This is what they try to cloak themselves in, because if they can manage to do that and then go ahead and engage you from that standpoint, then that's half the battle. That's half the battle. They've already gotten in. And typically, I mean, you see these guys all over social media, you know, with a lot of this positive, everyone that you see spreading the positivity and the positive word, they're the exact opposite of that. Trust me. The exact opposite. You don't have to push that down anybody's throat if that's what you are. You just be that. But see, the narcissist has to cover. They have to cover this so that the perception outweighs the logic when you're looking at it. You start feeding off of the perception. Okay? And so the perception of what they are saying, you take that to heart and you say, well, they couldn't be a negative person if they're spreading this much positivity. Right? They couldn't be someone who's really messed up if they're spreading all this positivity. Well, that is to hide who they really are. That's to hide the real individual who is corrupt and foul. For the most part, what you got from the narcissist, from your interaction with them, from your dealings with them, is basically all they had to offer. Okay? The lying, manipulation, all of these things, that was them. Okay? A lot of people tend to think and trick themselves into thinking that there's more to this person. This person had something more to offer as a person. They were someone who really had something that was greater to themselves to be given. And that's not true. It's just not true. What you got from your dealings and interactions with these type of individuals was exactly what they were. From the inner to the outer. That is them. There is no sequel of something being better about these individuals. And a lot of you get stuck thinking that just maybe, quite possibly, there's something more to this person that is worthwhile having or experiencing from, and it's not. What you got from the individual that you were dealing with is exactly what they had to offer. It's not like they were holding this magnificent character and personality about who they really are to themselves, and they just did not display it to you. Of course not. That's not the case. The reality of it is, what you got and what you were dealing with these individuals is exactly what they had to offer. And for those of you who struggle with releasing and letting go the mindset and the emotional connective feelings towards these individuals, thinking that there's some, better sequel to or an ending that they haven't given you that's a much better variation of what they shown you at least already, you can pretty much hang that up. Because there is nothing else there that's better than what they've shown you. Who they are and what they are and what you dealt with is exactly what it is. It's like you go to watch a movie, you're sitting in the theater and you got hyped up on this movie, and you're waiting for this spectacular plot to happen to end the movie, and it just, they don't know how to end it right, and it just fizzles out, and it's like you just paid money to watch a bum bum-ass movie, basically. And once the credits start rolling, it's over, pretty much. I mean, the movie's over. I mean, you know it's done. You get up, you walk out. Well, I mean, it's pretty much how it is with narcissists. I mean, when it's over, that's basically the credits rolling. And there is nothing else left to this individual that you might be thinking is there's something. I know this person has more. I know they wouldn't just be this way and so calculating, manipulative, and all of these things. No, and I'm doing this to really help you guys understand this. This is why I do this and I make these videos. Okay? A lot of people don't really understand the dynamics of what goes on and the transitioning of what they go through. All right? I've studied these individuals in and out. For years, I've studied them, and they never change. And the symptoms, and when people, the people that come across them that are misfortune to come across them, when it's done, they tend to think like, there's no way someone could actually be like that. But the reality is, it is like that when you encounter these individuals. And there isn't anything greater that they have to offer or show you or share with you. If it was, they would have given it. What you got from them is exactly what it was. The interactions, the everything you dealt with these people, these individuals. This was all a part of their makeup, their character, their personality, and who they are as a person. And they displayed it. And there isn't anything else left to salvage. And this is the thing that you have to understand. There's nothing else to be salvaged from these individuals. And they know this too. That's why they just move on to the next. Anyone else who will buy their story, anyone else who will buy their claim of being victimized, anyone else who will buy into their illusion, they move on to next. They won't defend a position. They won't defend it. They'll defend their image, but the position of being, character-wise at least, a good person, they know they're not. And that's why I say what you saw and what you experienced with them is exactly what it is. You can take away certain bits and pieces of what went down with them. You'll still have pretty much the basic foundation of the same person. There is no development of anything better or greater within these individuals. If you've experienced this type of thing with them, that's what it is. You got to understand, guys, when you're dealing with people like that who are basically causing drama, causing turmoil amongst other people, and they're doing all of this stuff to people, that they're doing a lot of bullshit to people. Let's just keep it blunt. They're doing a lot of bullshit that causing a lot of stuff that everybody doesn't forget. Everybody don't take to that the way some other people take to. So in the end, you end up creating enemies, right? Whatever the narcissist is screwing over this one, screwing over that one, doing this to that one, and so they're constantly burning bridges. They're constantly creating wedges between situations where they could be helped by individuals. They're cutting these things off. And they're creating enemies, right? They create enemies. And when they create enemies, the narcissists in their mind, they're so spaced out a lot of times. A lot of this is from them being naive, and they're arrogant. they don't think that this is ever going to come back. They think, oh, I did my dirt, I got them back, I did this and then I did that, and then they move on. But just like if you guys are familiar with the gang culture, you know, and not just even that, but where, you know, they did all this dirt while they were in the gang, you know, doing this to rival gangs and stuff, doing all this stuff to rival gangs, and then they get out and they think like, well, I'm done with that now. I'm removed. I'm not a gang member anymore. I'm not a gang banger or whatever. And it doesn't stop, because you did some shit that people are gonna be gunning for you for. It's not over just because you've left the gang or because you stopped that lifestyle. This is why people try not to screw people over, do foul shit to people. And excuse the French, but I'm just giving it to you blunt. This is why people try not to do that. Because at some point, the law of averages states that what you do will catch up to you at some period of time. You can't always dodge the bullet. You can play Russian roulette. You might not catch the bullet. But the more you play that game, the greater it increases your chances of actually catching that bullet. And these individuals that are narcissists play games. They play with people's lives. They do all of this fuckery, this nonsense that causes drama, chaos, and they're screwing people over. And at some point, that catches up with them. And a lot of you guys will say, well, I'm not seeing it. Well, you got to understand, just because in your mind, what you envision to happen to them, you're not seeing, does not mean that they are getting back what they have dished out. Many of them are going through horrendous situations. They don't like to acknowledge it or look back on it. And a lot of them, they're so spaced out from it because, again, they live in their minds. But they do know the dirt that they're doing. Okay? This is why a lot of them are drifters. They have to constantly relocate, move here, move there, because they're screwing people over. They're doing people foul stuff all the time. So they have to almost become drifter because they know they're doing people wrong. So this is why that paranoia is in them. They're constantly looking over their shoulders, because at what point, when is this going to catch up to me? You know, when you know you're doing people wrong, you got to almost expect that somebody's going to get back at you at some point. And this is the thing that a lot of you don't understand, because you don't have a reference point to check in and see whether or not they are getting back what they have reaped out or what they put out. It may not come from you. It may come from someone else. Or it may come from circumstances. It may come from situations. It may just come from different things that they put them or got themselves in based off of their poor judgments that has come back to haunt them. Now, all of these things, you're not going to be there physically to see, especially if you've left them alone. But just know, you cannot continue to do and act in certain ways and not expect it to come back to you. You live by the sword, you die by the sword. If you're living this way, if you're doing these things, that comes back. I don't care how much denial the narcissist puts in their head to say and justify what they do or what they've done. They can do that all they want. And a lot of you feed off that and think, well, maybe it's not going to happen to them. That's a bunch of bull. It will happen to them, and I can guarantee you it is happening to them. I can guarantee you that. It's just that you can't see it. You're not physically there to take in every living moment of what's going on with them. So in your mind, it's like they're not getting what they dished out. But trust me, they are. If you live in a certain way, in a certain lifestyle where you're playing games, screwing people over, not taking life seriously, not taking the things that you do to other people seriously, that all comes back. It all comes back. And when it comes back unexpected. And see, a lot of times they try to avoid it because they know it. They know at some point. This is why they're so paranoid. This is why they're always thinking someone's after them or someone's trying to do them something. Because they know this is bound to come back and get them. And again, guys, they don't see it exactly as they dished it out. It may come back in a different way. It doesn't always come back in the same way. But it does come back. It may not come back in the time frame that you are envisioning or trying to see it come back in, but it does come back. And that's just the thing where you got to take your mind off of what's going to be done to them. I can guarantee you, I'm telling y'all, they are getting what they've dished out. I'm telling you, they are. You may see, you're going off of your perception, what's in your mind, and what you can physically see, or what you're imagining to have to happen to them. But there's a lot of other things going on that you don't know about. That's wreaking havoc in their lives. Wrecking havoc in their lives, at least. There's a lot of things that you just can't see beyond the scope of your perception or your envisioning of what's going on to them or what could happen or what should happen. That's not how things work. But just know, however you live, whatever you're doing to people, whatever it is, it comes back. And so, for those of you who overwhelm your minds, thinking about, well, they did this to you or well, they did that, in your situation, you may think that you have went without justice. But that isn't the case. It's just that you can't see what is going on. A lot of you can't see it. You don't have a reference point. But do know that is a law. However you live, if you're living trife, if you're living scandalous, if you're living foul, if you're doing foul things, I don't care how much they try to justify themselves being right for doing what they do. The ultimate judge isn't going to see it that same way. And that's because of their ignorance and their actions with that they have to pay for. They don't get a free pass. They don't get to walk. And again, guys, like I said, whether it's from another person or if it's through circumstances, it comes back. It really does. So stop worrying your minds. Stop dwelling on whether or not you don't see this going on or happening with them. It doesn't always fall in the way that you envision it. And that's what you have to understand. Stop thinking about it. But just know, there are things that's going on in their lives that's sending that same shit that they dished out right back to them. Maybe not in the same way, but it's happening. And this is why a lot of them turn into hermits. They become antisocial. Because things start happening around them. Things, unexplanatory things start happening and going on in their lives. And they're like, wow, what is this from? They go into that denial. They're not thinking about all of the things that they've done to other people. And that's the thing you guys got to understand. You're only going to worry yourself. You're only going to make yourself stressed and feel in despair that you're not seeing the victors become victims of their own doings. Okay? And that is a major thing that I want you guys to focus on, not to look for it and worry your mind to see it. It's always going to come, and it's always going to appear and make itself happen when you least expect it. But just know the way that they live is creating the situations, the conditions for all of the bad stuff that they've done to come back at some point and tear their asses right back up. And you can guarantee that. That is a guarantee. Just because you don't see them, and like I said, getting it the way you think they should get it, oh, they get it. They do. We'll talk about scapegoats and why it is so important for the narcissist to have scapegoats, okay? Typically, the narcissist always has some sort of fallback that they fall back onto, which is usually it's going to be someone or something per se that they can put blame on. And it's important that they have this because the scapegoat allows the narcissist to exercise their victim role and victim mentality to extract sympathy from their next source of supply or victim. It's important that narcissist has these things. You guys, whenever you meet, or if you can recall with your narcissist, you might have heard them complaining about people doing them wrong, or someone doing them dirty, or someone leaving them left out. And it makes it seem like, wow, how could someone as nice as this person get taken for a loop like that? Because initially you got to understand, guys, in this love bombing phase, the narcissist is on their best behavior with you. They're being nice. They're doing everything that they need to do to appeal to you. And so initially, yes, their character comes off as very warming, very welcoming. Someone who could not do some of the horrific things that these individuals do to other individuals. You would never be able to depict that on your own just by dealing with them off of initially. Okay? But it's important that they are able to use some sort of person or thing as a scapegoat to cover their woes and their issues. Because we all know deep down inside what's happened is they have burnt bridges and they fucked up a lot of relationships and partnerships or whatever it may have been with other people. So they can't come at you and say, you know what? I fucked this situation up. I was fucking up doing this. I was fucking up doing that. And I kept getting cut off by people. People didn't want to deal with me. Of course not, they can't say that, because immediately you're going to be like, well, get the fuck out of my face. I don't want anything to deal with you either. You know what I mean? So it's important that they're able to be able to convince those who they're dealing with that something or someone was the cause of their downfall or their mishaps. That is a big thing. Narcissist always has some sort of an excuse as to why they're in the condition or situation that they're in, when all knowingly it's their fault. They're their own biggest enemy and downfall. Okay, so when you look at these individuals, when you hear
the finger pointing, the blame game, the blaming this one, the blaming that one. That's a red flag, because that's not showing the accountability that a full-grown adult is supposed to have and be aware of. It's not even trying to take the responsibility on of being accountable. So this is what it really boils down to, guys. You're looking at the individual who uses scapegoats, which is nothing but excuses, to dilute what's really going on. It takes the issue of them really being the problem away, and it gives them a chance. Okay, having a scapegoat gives the narcissist a chance to get into someone else's life and to become a part of someone else's life to get that new supply. Because remember, guys, the moment you start feeling sorry for these individuals, you're opening up the door to being victimized, or to being on a wild roller coaster ride that has no end until you end it. And that's important, what you guys understand. You have to understand that when you get with these individuals, that whole love bombing stage, they have to make themselves appeal to be beneficial to you. Someone that makes you feel good, someone that makes you feel happy. They have to come off this way. And this is because it's all about gaining that interest, gaining that acceptance, so that you bring them further and further and deeper into your world, where they can thus transform on you and begin to manipulate. So the scapegoating is nothing but a tactic, guys. Narcissists use scapegoating and pointing the blame and pointing the finger at other people as a tactic to get in and to gather sympathy from someone else, so that they can go about manipulating and getting their way in to the next individual. You have to understand that. And that's really what it's all about. Okay, so be leery of that, guys. I just wanted to point that out there about the scapegoating tactic. They tend to use that a whole lot. You'll always notice with them, it's always someone else's fault. And this is how they move on from supply to supply, because I believe it is essential that they do have a scapegoat. Because if you look at their lives and it's completely unproductive, they're a grown-ass adult, and their track record is complete unproductive, and nothing that's really been. Some do accomplish things, but as I said, a lot of them end up fucking that up anyway too. So it's important to have something or someone to point the blame at for their failures. The narcissists, when they're in their discard mode or whatnot, and the process that goes through behind the thinking, or the rationalization of how they're processing the situation when it happens. Okay, so typically, when a narcissist feels or is in a state of feeling threatened by abandonment or some sort of, whether it's retaliation or whatever it may be, the narcissist will begin to induce or create a situation to cause maybe further drama at that particular time, to give them an excuse to leave. This is only because it kind of, let's say if you were in the process of leaving them and they knew that you were fed up with them and that you were leaving, or even if they sense it, okay, they can even sense, if they start to sense this, or they're thinking this in their minds, they begin to behave in such a manner to basically to bring into fruition the very thing that they are feeling or sensing, whether it be real or not. Okay, this is so that they internally in their own psyche can
feel comforted in knowing that they're the ones that's in control. This is all about their ego, regulating their ego, which they don't have the proper capacity to operate. At least they're trying to regulate this by taking matters into their own hands and causing the situation to come about on purpose, at least, by their own doings. You see, this still gives them the ability to say, it was on my terms. That's the reason why you had to leave. It was my terms. I did it. You didn't leave me, or whatnot, however they want to put it. And this is so that they can feel good about the situation once it does occur, or if it doesn't, it still gives them that sense of security within themselves, knowing that, hey, I'm the one that's controlling this. I'm controlling the situation. I'm the one that's dictating what happens. Okay? And so when you see a narcissist in a discard phase and you're wondering why they begin to act up even more if you're a good source of supply for them, it's because they have such paranoia and anxiety within them that they almost can't rest unless they do cause a certain amount of drama, because they're thinking about what's possibly going to happen, what's going to feel like once it does happen. And this becomes overwhelming for them. And so now they have to kind of, it's like, let me get it over with. Let me do something and just get it over with. So let me do this, or let me do that. And when they do that, that's when the reaction comes from the other person that triggers the very thing that they're fearing. And that is being abandoned or being left. And this is where they actually put themselves in a worse predicament sometimes than necessary. You see, they're too busy always playing a defensive role to where they take actions and do things and make moves that are stupid and not, or let's say ill-advised, and really doesn't benefit them, as opposed to if they were actually thinking before they did react or do something. And this is why a lot of the things and their actions come back to pass to haunt them. Because most of the time they're overreacting to something. And they're making a small problem into a large problem. They're making something bigger that doesn't necessarily need to even be. So this is what's happening with these narcissistic individuals in the discard phase. Sometimes they do it on their own. They shoot themselves in the foot all the time. And in the end, after things have processed and then they go through other situations with other people that are more detrimental than what they were dealing with, then it kind of processes later like, wow, maybe I did overreact then, and now it's too late because they done burnt so many bridges to where they find themselves constantly having to repeat the cycle and start all over again somewhere else. So it's like they're running and running and running with no finish line. So in the end, they never win anything. They're only losing and burning themselves out, basically. And this is driven by the inner fear to feel like they always have to protect themselves from something. And that same fear, that same inner fear of being criticized or whatnot, the fear of criticism and all of the shame and all, this is what drives them and controls their life. So the discard phase, sometimes when you guys think about the discarding phase, sometimes they're bringing this on their own from their own internal fears and anxieties that they can't get a grip on and control. So for them, instead of waiting and sitting around and waiting for something to happen to them, why don't I, as the narcissist is saying, take control of the situation and cause what I feel is going to happen? That way, at least I can say I was in control of it. I did it. It was on my own terms. And that's how they think.
So this is what traps them. And sometimes that discard that you guys feel, that's a reaction to their own insecurities, anxieties, and fears. I want to talk about one of the biggest mistakes that an individual makes when they're discarded by a narcissist, or when you first start seeing the signs that you're about to be discarded. Okay, is a big thing, and a lot of people will overlook this because they have hope, right? They still have some type of hope within their hearts and their minds about what it is that they're going to make happen with this person that's completely manipulating and fooling them, right? So the first signs when a narcissist discards you, right, and they actually get to the point where they have you can say to where they've left. Let's say they left you, pulled a disappearing act, whatever, right? That is the first sign that there is someone who they have they've already been there, but typically now they have become, there's been some sort of sexual intimacy or contact being made on average, right? They've already went deep into that sector or that aspect of what's going on. So when you see the narcissist pulls a disappearing act like that, along with the disrespecting and along with the being a loaf, being completely indifferent. Yeah, there's more. This individual has been groomed to the point of being promoted to replacing you now, right? At this point, they're just stringing you along. So when you accept the narcissist back, when you pull the narcissist back in, it's nothing but an ego stroke at this point for them, because they're already engaging with another individual, and typically, if it's that way to where they've left and they've gone, you better believe there's already been some sexual contact or intimacy going on at that point with this new source. When you take them back, or if you allow them in and out, they're only going to toy with your emotions, because at this point, it's all about using you now. It's all about using you. They're already committed to this new source at this point, and they've chosen. They feel certain enough to where they've chosen a new source to replace you. Now you play the part as the person who makes in all actuality, you're making the transition smoother for them when you still take them back, when they have little hardships of adjustments while they're, so basically, let me digress. So basically, while they're with this new source, anytime that you are providing your services, your kindness, and trying to help assist them when they're coming around, they're already deep into something else, no pun intended. But they're already deep into something else to where all you're doing is helping assist them with a smoother transition into fully, captivating and engaging with this new source. That's what you're doing. Because they're already mentally and physically fully involved with the new individual. And when you're still trying to be this wonderful person to them and giving them, some money or, doing favors for them, you are helping them move on to another source to replace you. That's what you're doing. All right? And so if you find yourself in that situation, don't play with that situation. Don't entertain that. Don't think that and buy the story of they just need time away, all that bull crap, right? They just need some space to think. No, they need space to do other things, but there ain't a whole lot of thinking going on. You know, that's what's going on in that situation. And you have to be mindful and understanding of that and realize that and be, cognizant enough to catch on to what it is that's going on. When you start to see the disrespect start to kick up, the they don't want to talk, they don't want to be explain themselves, they just want to leave every time, they just want to leave or zone out, disengage from you. There's some other person in the picture that they have promoted to the point of replacing you as the primary source. And that's what's happening. That's what's happening when you see that. So if you take them back or still entertain them when you see this going on, you're helping them move on and build with the next individual. That's what you're doing. So if you see it, the moment you catch it, fully disengage. Fully disengage. Adults don't act that way. We talk things through. We find ways to properly communicate, to resolve issues with clarity. So we don't, adults don't handle that way like that. So, make sure that you are, taking the time to take that in consideration and realize what is actually going on when you catch that like that. All right.
Recently, clients that were saying that they gave in and they ended up giving a narcissist a second chance. They bought into the whole fake epiphany and the narcissist feeding them a lot of, false progressive stories about how they've changed and what they've went through that made them change and so forth and so on. Okay. And mind you, without any evidence from the prior source, there's been no evidence or whatnot, and there's been nothing to confirm that. But the narcissist somehow manages to come across very convincing and, give that person the same type of image that they got into and managed to seduce the source of the victim, if you want to call that, the first time, right? And so again, I always speak about when time goes by, because time is what helps a person heal anyway. And when time goes by, people's emotions and stuff like that from, hurtful situations, a lot of times they stabilize and they balance back out to being normal, where a person can deal with, themselves, the emotions, and the situation for that matter, at least. So, boom, here comes the narcissist, and they're smart enough to know they can't come back in as a relationship. So a lot of times the way they get people is they come back again, and this is in my ebook course, they come back as trying to play the role of a do-gooder. And that is somebody who, they're not looking for a relationship. They're not looking for anything. They're coming around, they're seeing if you need anything, can I help you with anything? If you need, just call me. You don't have to pay me anything. I'll come and do it. I'll help you with that, or, whatever. And they're not looking for monetary compensation, okay? Because they have a plan. And they know if they can survive or maintain around you without, putting themselves or pressuring you to be in a relationship, you're more likely and apt to feel secure with that arrangement. Now, once you're feeling secure with that arrangement, and you're not thinking that, anything could possibly go wrong with that, you kind of, you get too comfortable, you get complacent. Meanwhile, narcissist is hanging around. You may not be, you don't live together or anything like that anymore. They're not really hounding you or anything like that, but yet they're offering you different types of services or help from them. And so it creates the appearance or the illusion that maybe they have changed because they're not doing what they've done before. Now, mind you, for the source that has been victimized and tricked before, you have to recognize at this point that you're back in that it's not the love bombing now, but it's that stage where the narcissist is trying to secure a new source, right? So you're not a new source, but yet they have to approach it that same way as if you were. And here's the thing that's different now. They won't use the romantic tactic of love bombing you. They'll use the tactic of being of assistance, altruism. They'll go in and they'll perform in that capacity, which to you that's non-threatening. So you feel as though, well, maybe everything is okay, and now it starts to affect your perception. Okay? Once a snake, always a snake. All the narcissist is doing is buttering you up, softening you up to regain your trust so that you let your guard down. Remember, the nearest and dearest, especially those who are in a relationship or very close contact of knowing the narcissist and interacting with the narcissist on a more interpersonal level, they're going to be the ones that see the worst out of the narcissist. So at this point, any individual that has managed to allow the narcissist to come back in under the fake epiphany, the false, fake created, reinvented self that they usually profess to being, you're setting yourself up. Because this will go on for a while, and they're patient. They're not going to make the first move. They're patient, and what they're hoping on, what they're pretty much sure of, is that those old emotions of what caused you to like them and many of you to fall in love with them before will resurface again at some point by their constant presence being around you. That will begin to come back and resurface at some point. When it does, the narcissist will home in and pick up on it like a shark in water smelling blood or seeing blood. They will pick up on that. And when you do, you've just pretty much put yourself in position to be slaughtered again, to be victimized again by the narcissist. Because, of course, the narcissists know they can't come back in with the same conditions and arrangements as before when you were actually with them, before they discarded you and all this. They know that. And a lot of people, even though they say they're healed, time has went by. What's happened is, only thing that's happened is they've just forced themselves to forget a lot of the things that went on, but they haven't really healed. They haven't really learned their lesson. They just block things out. Okay? And narcissists know this. So when we talk about no contact frequently and often about why it's important, because the moment you open that door up to even lend an ear to listen to them, to take the time to spend more than 2 to 3 minutes listening to them. I always say keep the conversation down if possible to less than a minute to 2 with them. All right. 3 at max. But the moment you begin to going over that and hearing them out and hearing all this BS that they're spewing to you, they know they got you right there. If you're willing to lend an ear to even hear them out, they know they got you. So the whole thing is, once they have gotten back in, here's what they're thinking. I've managed to do it again. Because you understand, a lot of people underestimate the arrogance of narcissists. Right? That entitlement and arrogance is big time. And so what they're thinking from you is you're weak. You just reconfirm the supremacy that they have over you. Right? You just confirm that you can't do any better than them. So to them, the way they look at you is you're pitiful. And and with all serious, I mean, that's how they're looking at you. Because there's no way in hell that after all they've done, you should have opened the door to yourself again. I don't care if it even is on that friendship level or just being a person that you associate with. There should not even be any association with them. They're not deserving to even be an associate to you. I mean, that's just off top. But to be able to finagle their way back into that position just proves, it just, it further fuels that inflated ego that they already have. And basically you're confirming that, yes, they are the shit. You cannot do without them. And when it happens that way, eventually your emotions will change. And it will start drifting back to being with them, spending more time. Now they're coming over. Now they're, they've softened you up enough and then they've gained your trust enough to where you start to believe maybe they have changed. Again, this is the same method, just a different tactic of getting back in. Again, just to repeat, they can't use the love bombing at this point. They have to fall back with another tactic because that's how they got in last time. If they come in the same way, you're going to immediately pick up on that and see that, I see, you're up to your old tactics again. So no, love bombing isn't at play. It's not going to be at play this time. And by having a change in tactic can give the appearance of the individual being different. Okay, there's a big thing when it comes to tactic. If the tactic is different, it's gonna the landscape of what's going on is gonna appear different. You're not, because you're seeing, they're painting the perception that they want you to feed off, that they want you to go into and give into. And when that happens, it opens you up for more acceptance of them being around, because you don't feel as though it's a threat, because you're seeing a totally different look. It's kind of like, I watch sports. I see this in football a lot. Teams will study each other's film. And if they're doing exactly what they've studied, what they were expecting, they can almost have their number and counter them at every play. But if a team switches up their tactic, their game plan on them, the other team can be quite successful against that other team, and even though that other team has played them numerous times. So switching up the tactic gives a different image, creates a different illusion that can throw an individual off, especially if you were with the narcissist before and you went through it, you got rid of them, it's been some time, they're trying to come back in and show you how much they've changed. More so, that's only a challenge to the narcissist, that they like that. They like challenges like that. They like turning no's into yeses. They like to defeat and break the boundaries of an individual who's professed and claimed, oh, this is never going to happen again. I'll never be with you. The narcissists don't take that serious. They look at that as like, oh, yeah? Oh, really? You think you're never going to be with me again? Watch I get back in. Watch. And they'll scheme for months. They'll come up with just the right entry or plan to get right back in. And what happens when they get back in? Well, most of you pretty much already know what that is. They go right back through the cycle. Even worse this time. Oh yeah, it's always worse the second time around. This ain't no Shalimar where it's a lot better. Second time ain't gonna be the best time around. It's gonna be worse. It's not gonna get any better. Because now that they've gotten back in, they're still angry and bitter for you getting away in the first place. Or trying to resist them coming back and holding them off. It's going to be worse. And it's going to set you back so far and create even more damage to your psychological composition that you're going to be even more screwed up. And it's going to take a whole lot more for you to even get back to a normal base. So, I can't stress this enough. There is no change in these individuals. They're chameleons. They just give you different looks. They give you different appearances. Masters of deception. Okay? That's all they do day in, day out, is come up with different schemes, cons, etc. So you have to really take that in and embrace that, no matter how much or how some of you are lonely. Some of y'all got a lot of cold beds. Your bed is cold. Well, it's summertime now, but wintertime is coming, and the other side of that bed be real frigid. You get in at night, the bed is freezing on the other side. You gotta get you a pillow warmer or a heat blanket or something. That way you're not longing for someone else to be with you, because they count on that too. They count on a person's loneliness to get in as well. But I'm gonna leave it at that, everyone. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. Make sure you do go and get the Departure of Empathy documentary. There's plenty of I do have a trailer on there. I think I'll leave it in the just click the description information thing down below, and it'll take you right to it. But and thank everyone for the support for this channel. And I'm glad to see a lot of you are recovering and are staying strong. I mean, that's a big up. So give yourselves a pat on the back for that as well, because you came a long way. A lot of you, you've waken up from points and depths of, blindness, and have been enlightened to the point where you have bettered yourselves. So give yourselves a pat on the back for that as well. And until next time, we'll talk soon. Y'all have a good one.
What can we do to begin to heal ourselves? This is very important. Okay, we have to start looking at the aspect of actually healing. A lot of you have been through toxic relationships, but you haven't started the process of healing. You've went through forgetting and now living in a certain sense of heightened alertness, but you haven't really healed. Number one, healing deals with returning back to yourself, okay? Because a lot of you will get into this mode of seeking validation, just as the narcissist does, from other people after you've been through hurt and stuff with them. You seek validation from others to affirm who you are and tell you who you are, so you can reassert yourself and reassert your identity again. So the main thing, I want you to be able to return back to yourself, because you've gotten away from yourself. If you've been in a toxic relationship for a long time, you have gotten away from who you are. You've become so sensitive and so withholding now, to where you don't want to open up. You don't want to share certain information or anything now, because now you're like, is it going to happen again? So return back to yourself. Come back to you. And second, forgive yourself. That's very important. Forgive yourself. You have to stop thinking about how you got involved and how you got played and used. You have to forgive yourself from that. It was just a game you got involved in. You took an L. You lost. That doesn't stop you from still being that good person, that great person to someone else who's deserving. Yes, you were deceived. Yes, you were tricked. But that doesn't mean you're weak. You have to understand that. That doesn't mean you're a weak person. You were fighting a battle that could not be won. To remain or to try to uphold that relationship doesn't show weakness. It's a sign of strength. And because of your strength, it is because of that strength that they wanted to break you. So the strength was the envy of the toxic person in the relationship. They envy your strength. And you have to realize that you still are strong. You're strong. Strength means you fight. Fighting means you fight for your identity. You don't allow these bastards to step on you so hard to where you say, I'm done. I'm not fighting no more. I'm just going to be... No, you don't give in like that. You don't give up like that. You fight back for your identity. You fight back for your beliefs. Fight back for who you are. You took a loss, but you don't have to be weak. Strength is in the acknowledgement of, yes, I did take a loss. Yes, I did get played. Yeah, I did. I did. But I can recover. You think about if any boxer to enter the profession that were to take one loss and then he quits his career, doesn't want to fight anymore, well, that means he probably wasn't a boxer or a fighter to begin with in the first place. If you're a good person and you know the qualities that you had, you have to think back. Think about your good qualities as a person and who you are. And what makes you likable. What makes you a person that someone else can look at and commend. Think about those qualities that you possess. And then think about, are they worth fighting for? You don't want to throw those qualities out the window and look at them as a weakness because someone who had envy, destruction, and hurt in their heart wanted to attack you for it. Because those qualities that they possess caused them to be hurt. And they quit fighting. They didn't come back to fight again. So you regain and you look at what makes you a wonderful person. And then you return back to that. And you go back to training. You go back to rebuilding those qualities that was depleted and stepped on. And you refine those qualities. And then you find comfort and life and happiness and joy within those qualities that makes you who you are. Don't be ashamed of having a good heart. Don't be ashamed of being a caring person. That doesn't make you weak. But do understand that those qualities and those attributes that make you a good person need to be carefully distributed. They have to be carefully displayed only to the right ones who are worthy of you. You are not any less than what you started out before you went into a toxic relationship. You may have lost some possessions. You may have had your heart broken. But that doesn't make you less of than a person who is worthy of being loved still. It doesn't make you weak because someone decided that they wanted to be an asshole and evil and hateful and envious and wanted to take advantage of that. Doesn't make you weak. It just means you didn't make a good decision. A decision is a choice. That's the thing. It has nothing to do with the character. It has to do with judgment. So, making a bad decision doesn't have to be something that's indefinite and held on to within your heart and your mind to where you do not see yourself as worthy. You made a bad decision. Separate the two.
Do not collaborate who you are as a person and the character that you are with a decision. It's just a bad choice. Don't let a bad choice route you into a permanent rut to where you connect the two to say, because I made a bad choice, I made a bad decision, I'm not a good person. I'm not strong enough. I'm not weak. I'm weak, or I'm not. You just cannot connect those two together. Everyone that's on the face of the earth today is a winner. Billions of sperm that was let out to fertilize your mother's egg. You were the one to get there first. That makes you a winner from day one. If you're living here and you're existing today, you beat out millions of other sperms to be the first one to be here. That makes you a winner. Do not stop fighting. That's all I can stress. Do not stop fighting in this. Fight for the good side of you. Deliberately force yourself to still be that good, caring, loving person. Do not allow yourself to turn into a toxic, envious, heartbroken, cold, callous person. Fight. Fight for the good of you. Fight for the true self. The things that they initially begin to like you for and praise and admire you for in the beginning of the relationship will be the same things they will begin to hate and despise you for. Okay? This is because for them, I have to understand the narcissist is always in a perpetual state of what they call narcissistic supply. So which means they're easily wooed or influenced or excited by anything new. So if you're new, they don't know you, they haven't learned you yet, everything is exciting to them. Okay, everything is, they're all in because they're trying to learn you. You're something new. You don't know them also, which makes it even better. It's a neutralized position that they're putting themselves in. Eventually, when you begin to see the fallacies and discrepancies in the narcissist that you're with, they begin to resent that same intelligence and everything that they liked beforehand, because the intelligence and stuff that you have and display to them, once it begins to dissect and pick them apart, they begin to resent you. And the resentment at least comes from your ability to see through their bullshit. Because they know they're bullshit. They know they're full of shit. And once you start speaking on it and expressing it, it really tends to... it fucks up their false reality, basically. That you're like I don't know how to put it. You're more or less something that, dissects and picks apart their bullshit. And if you're constantly calling them on it and you're making reference to them being full of shit, now they got an issue with you. Now they're not going to like you. Now their whole sense of a motive of being with you is to act out revenge and tear you down from creating a narcissistic injury within them. Because now you've discovered you discovered, and not only have you discovered, it's not the fact that you discovered it, because they know they're full of shit. It's the fact that you refuse to acknowledge their false reality, their false self. Because you have to understand, it's a dance that you get into when you are with the narcissist. You're playing this role, you're dancing with them. And as long as you want to be the dance partner, they'll keep feeding you a bunch of bullshit and a bunch of lies, whatever you want to hear. You have to understand, from the time you met your narcissist, everything that was done with them and with you was all to appease you. You were fed a bunch of lies. You were given a bunch of false promises and seductions. And to seduce, it doesn't have to be sexually. It's just something that they know they can't fulfill based on a promise or whatever. They would not ever fulfill any of that. So all they do is drag you along. They string you along with false promises, with everything that appeases you and appeals to your own ideals. So they basically mimic everything that you like and want. Once you find this out and you're able to see through that and you dissect it and you're like, wait a minute, this is a bunch of bullshit. You're not who you say you are. You're not even remotely close to being who you say you are. And you know what? You're this, that, and this and that. And when you're just picking out all of these things and you're telling them about themselves, inside the narcissist is like, you motherfucker. How dare you? How dare you speak against what I want you to believe? And they're angry that you are actually able to see through them. Not the fact that you did nothing to them. It's the point, it's the fact of you see them for who they really are. And they get angry because it's like, my slave, my pet is escaping. And once they feel that you've escaped and you see through it, now it's time for revenge. Now it's time to get you back. Now it's time to make you pay for seeing through their bullshit. So the things of when you exercise your own intelligence and your own logic and reasoning, and then you go ahead and you show them that you see what's going on with them. Now, okay, the narcissist is like, I have to switch up. Now their whole purpose now is to make you pay for everything that you saw wrong in them and that you pointed out about them that is wrong. So they will continue to play the role, but underneath that is a lot of resentment, anger, and hate and frustration towards you. This is where it gets dangerous for you being in that type of relationship, because now the narcissist is looking at attacking you. They're plotting to attack you. They're plotting to break you down at this point because you saw through them. They won't, a lot of times they won't just leave. Not if they know you cared and loved for them, but they know it's a lost cause and a lost situation once you've saw through them. So they want to leave with a bang. They want to leave, if they're going to leave, because they feel their time, effort, and everything is the most precious that can be. Whatever it was, even if they gave you a bunch of lies, they expect you to accept even their lies as something, as a gift to them, to you at least, from them. So once that happens and you're sitting back looking like, wow, what do I do now? I mean, I've been involved with this person and now I see that this person really isn't who the fuck they said they were. You're faced with a dilemma, and most people can't really accept the fact that there is no change in them. And once you find out, you're in danger. You're really in danger, because their whole purpose now is to break you down. They're going to break your ass down. And the longer you stay around them thinking that they're going to change, and they'll promise you, hey, I know I lied to you. I know you found out about me, and I don't know why I did that. I do have an issue. I do. They'll go ahead and tell you. And this is the shit that plays on the psyche and draws a lot of normal people back in, because it seems so genuine. You're like, okay, they understand. Okay, they want to change. And they'll tell you. And then you'll be like, well, okay, I'll give them, I think they seem to understand. Let me give them a shot. That's the biggest mistake you can make. Because at that point, you just surrendered your freedom, and you're asking for your sanity and reality to be manipulated and played with. Because that's all they're going to do at that point. Because they know you found out about who I really am. You're not going to be the same anymore. You're eventually going to hurt me, is what the narcissist is saying. But I still need you. So I have to figure out a way to keep you and then make you punish you upon my exit. So they'll play the role. They'll continue to play the role with you and be friendly to you and all of these things, but you have to realize that they're very vindictive, and they're always plotting to destroy you once you figure who they really are. And there's no escaping that. There's no getting around that. They're always plotting to destroy you. If you're not going to be their pet, if you're not going to roll over and say, I'll do whatever you want. And even in that situation with a narcissist, it's a no-win situation. You could be the perfect narcissistic supply to them. They will still plot and figure out a way to dismiss you, destroy you, whatever. That's just in them. There's no winning with a narcissist. And that's something you have to understand. So the qualities that you show that may be good to the average person, a normal person that would cherish that, a narcissist will envy you for that. And will plot to destroy you for all of those qualities that you do have that they actually like. Because those qualities is a threat to their false reality and false self. Because those qualities in you are going to eventually point out and see that they're not who they are. And that's something that they can't deal with. So keep in mind, the qualities that you show and possess, the narcissist will eventually come after you and attack you for those same qualities. And it's really no escape. So something to consider if you have dealt with them and you've seen it. Just be understanding that it's a no-win situation. There is no such thing as being good to a narcissist. There is no such thing as cooperating with a narcissist. They want total domination. And even then, giving them that ability to dominate, they're still going to hurt you. There's a no-win situation with them.
The narcissist using bait to lure a lot of their victims back in once you've decided to exit or make an exit from dealing with them, at least. A lot of this kind of happens. A lot of this, good afternoon, how you guys doing? Hey, Sunshine, I see you. Miss Red, Grace, how y'all doing? Des Jordan, all of y'all coming in so fast. But I wanted to talk about specifically how narcissists use this bait to get you back in, okay? A lot of times, especially, here's the thing that I try to warn people about once they have left their narcissist alone. It's very important, okay, that you do not go
seeking out, especially if you first, like a lot of you, when you first, get rid of them, don't go looking for stuff that they have or that they're putting out. All right. This is only gonna, this is the part of the thing that the narcissist expects their victims to do. Okay. They expect when you first leave them and you're not with them anymore, and they're really counting on the fact that you're so wounded, you're still open at that point, that they can always use little things to make you jealous. They can bait you in by showing you them having a good time, or they're showing you that they're doing something that's fun without you. And this is all exaggerated, guys. A lot of times when you see this and you're like, well, damn, they're really turning it up. They're really having a good time, and how could they be having so much fun? And we just broke up, and you were so in love with them or whatnot, right? But now they're having all this time, all this fun, and you're sitting there, worried about them. You're looking at the stuff that they're posting, especially if you're on Facebook or something like that. Major mistake, okay? Major mistake. And this is what will trap, this will bait you in. A lot of you guys will begin to start observing this and realizing and looking at this false fun. This is all staged fun, okay? You have to understand, this is all staged fun. They're not really having fun. They're just using these props, these situations, and when I say a prop, they can use another individual for the sake of just displaying to you that they're enjoying their time with even the opposite sex or whatnot. So they can have someone that they specifically just got just as a prop to get to you, okay? They have no interest in this person, but they're using this guy as a prop, or they're using this woman as a prop, so that you become jealous, so that you start wanting to re-engage them, okay? And this is something that, this is something that a lot of you, if you're paying attention to them, if you're still a part of their audience, if you're still in line with them where they can observe you, or you're observing them, trust me, they're going to take full advantage of it. Okay? And this is not good for you. Psychologically, this is not good for you, because when you see this and you're still wounded, and I don't mean like you're wounded, like you're just all torn apart. Some of you are, but you might even be pissed off. You might be mad. This will cause a reaction towards you to where you want to re-engage them. Now, they don't care if it's negative or if it's positive, but the re-engagement is all about causing or igniting some sort of reaction out of you. Because now you see them, and now you may say something or you may not say something, depending on how hurt you are. Or you might go ahead and think about, wow, they're having fun now, and now your own ego starts to turn against you. And it makes you want to re-engage them, and now you might call them, you might text them, you might make a negative comment towards them. But hey, guess what this tells the narcissist? This tells them like, I'm getting to you. You're not over me, and I get to punish you now. Because that's all it's really about, guys. When a narcissist discards you, or you discard them, it's about payback. So they have to punish you in some way. So these things, when you see this and you're watching them walking or putting pictures up with them and another person that they're supposedly in a relationship with, you have to realize that these are props. This is nothing but a script that they're putting forth, and you're just watching the movie play out in front of you. Okay, this isn't real. But you will react because you have a certain connection to them. You'll react as though, wow, they're having fun. Oh my God, I can't believe this. And now you're mad, you're pissed off, and you want to get back at them. But more so, here's another thing that narcissists know, guys. They know about the thought fuel that they get from you, okay? They don't have to be around you. They don't have to see you. Narcissists don't physically have to see you to know how you're reacting, okay? They don't have to see you. They know that what they do will cause a certain reaction. Okay? So even though you don't respond to them, they know in the condition that they've left you in, anything that they put out
is going to have a certain reaction on you. And guess what? They can still laugh knowing that even though you don't respond to them, they're laughing and knowing that I know that's getting to them. I know that's affecting them. So not only is no contact good, guys, but no visuals either. We're going to go ahead and throw that one out there too. No visuals, no contacts. We don't even want to look at them. And that's just the way it is. You don't go looking for them. Don't go looking at any words or anything like that. We don't want visuals or contacts from now on. And that's the way it has to be, because honestly, guys, even the visuals will bring back memories. It'll bring back certain things about your experience with them. So the thing you have to understand is that when you see them, it's going to trigger something in you. So I like to say that's the whole bait thing, especially because they know when you're looking. Even though you guys may think, oh, they don't know I'm checking in on. Every narcissist knows, especially if you've been discarded, that you're still checking in on them. Okay? And so, I think it's, I don't know how to pronounce it, but Quandy Young, yeah, don't go looking no more. Don't go looking on those pages no more. Serious. I mean, all right, don't go looking, because they know that you're looking, and guess what? As long as they know they have an audience, they're gonna antagonize you. They're gonna go ahead and they're gonna make it worse. They'll deliberately put stuff up because they know you're watching. So essentially, even though you've physically removed yourself from the narcissist, you haven't mentally removed yourself. That's the most important factor. It's not just about going no contact. You have to mentally release too. And mentally releasing is by all the things that you would want to do, because you're still trying to think about this good time that you have with these individuals. But guess what? Everything that you've met from the whole individual was basically a script that they were following. And they do this so well, guys, because building rapport is very powerful, especially if it's false. If someone starts acting like they like everything you like, they're into everything that you're into, you know what? That's a very powerful, it's kind of like a very powerful mental sedative that gets you to engage and want to almost feel like, wow, you're just like me. You're just like who I am. So you want to have that person around. You want to feel as though this person is your soulmate, right? But this person is only doing what they know will make you engage them and like them instantly. Okay, that's how you get bought. That's how you buy into them, at least. And then once you think that you've met someone who has so much in common with you, you open up to them. You think you've met your soulmate. You think you've met the one, and now they get to switch up on you. They're only going to use you for what they need something from you for, because that's the whole objective with narcissists, guys. It's about getting something out of you. It's about using you for whatever they can get from you. But the most important thing you have to understand, especially if you've already went through this, you know what it's about. You know what it's like. A lot of you who's struggling with wanting to know if you made the right decision and going back, you gotta pause, okay? You gotta pull your mental out of them, and even mental visuals. I mean visuals in general, not just actual physical visuals, but mental visuals too. Stop thinking over the situations that you've had with them before, and that the good times and the stuff that you had that may have been fun that you've experienced with them. That's gonna suck you back in. You gotta stop thinking. Even the hurt that they did to you, the little things that they did. Stop thinking about that. All right. Treat it like a game. We took a L. We took a loss in that game. We move on. We go to the next game. Okay? We can't stay stuck on the same game that we lost, because that's what the narcissist depends on. They depend on you not being able to recuperate, to recover. And once you're stuck in that position, they're always back at you. And so, a lot of, we call it game playing. So hold on, let me read this really quick. Someone says Desiree Romero, he stalks your media even after no contact. Well, yeah, the narcissist wants to keep a track on you too. Okay, you have to understand, the narcissist wants to see what you're doing, what your progression is, because they have re-entry points that they know they want to come back in if they see a certain thing from you. They'll set up a re-entry point to where, okay, it looks like she's starting to do something positive now, or she's starting to move on, she's healing, she's getting better. Let me come back into her life now. Okay, so they want to keep a full range of what's going on with you, and it's best if you can to block them, if you can, because they're always going to be checking in on you. They're always looking for, they're opportunists. They're opportunists, and if they're stalking your social media page, they want to keep a track of your progression. They want to see, are you healing? Are you still hurt? Where are you? And you know where you are emotionally, because that's the whole the whole thing that at least the narcissist tries to attack is predominantly based on where your emotional temperament is lying at that time. So you have to be wary of that, guys. They're gonna check you out. They're gonna look at you, but it's up to us. Somebody said my narcissist went back to the baby mom and got her pregnant. You know what, guys? A lot of times when people accept the narcissist back, and those are victims who haven't found healing. A lot of you guys that watch these videos, believe it or not, even though you might not believe in yourself now, it'll be a lot harder for the narcissist to come back and do the same thing that he did to you before. Okay, the narcissist that goes on and they get back with these other individuals, a lot of these peoples haven't tried to even figure out what happened to them. They're still lost in Never Never Land, and the narcissist can always re-enter back into their life, in and out. That goes for men or women. You know, you have to realize, when people do accept these individuals back, they never found any type of educational information or anything to help, excel their progression in recovery. So these individuals will become victims again. You know, so when you see that happen, don't look at it like, wow, damn, something's so messed up with me. No, that's something so messed up with the individual who chose to take them back. Give yourself credit for being strong enough to let them go and not accept them back again. You guys gotta give yourself a little bit more credit. And congratulations on everybody who's been no contact for up to a year at least, even 6 months. Because that's hard. It's hard, and it it's something that a lot of people have struggled with, so congratulations. I definitely, commend y'all. I mean, it's a lot of you are growing, putting the information that I put out. I mean, it's helping a lot, and I do it because, a lot of people need to be aware of this. It's a devastating thing. I was just talking to a doctor he's actually a neuroscientist. And he basically said that he believes that narcissistic injury is the worst because of the condition that it leaves their victims in once they're gone. And my story, have I ever shared it? I do have it in a video. The documentary is more or less going to share my video. Also, guys, I shot a video. And I have a little cameo in the movie that's coming out, a young lady and her story, where I play a doctor, at least Dr. Jones, in the movie. So the trailer, hopefully they're going to be done editing the mini. It's like an 8-second, not an 8-second, but a small, like a 30-second trailer to her movie. So I play a doctor in there, and I'm consulting with her in the scene. But that should be pretty good. I have some footage on my Instagram Instagram is, you can go and look at, it's ASSC Direct, at ASSC Direct. You can go check that out. But have a little bit of clips, you know. But other than that, guys, definitely just keep yourselves mindful not to go for that bait. And again, we want to be no visual and no contact. Because I know I heard a lot of you guys have still go and take that peek, especially if you're not fully over. If you can't see them with someone else and it not bother you, and I mean mentally see them with someone else in your mind's eye and it not bother you, you know you're not ready to visually see them again. Okay? So if you can see them with someone else and it doesn't bother you emotionally, you know you're healed. Okay? That's when you know you're healed and they can't get back to you. And congrats for the 4 weeks of no contact. 4 weeks is even good. You know, it's a battle, guys. You know, healing is not easy. Healing does take work, and it takes a lot of effort from yourselves as well. You know, so just be mindful of your progression and know that you know, nobody's losers. You're not, you know, just because you got taken for a wild spin, it doesn't make you weak. You know, we just took an L. You know, we took an L, but we recover. You know, sometimes it's not fair. You know, I see sometimes it's not fair. Dreaming. Somebody said, is it normal to dream from them? You know what? I think a lot of that is psychological, and, you know, it's embedded in the mind, and sometimes you're going to have dreams. You know, don't read too much into it, though. Don't read too much into the dream. You know, it could be just something that, you know, whenever you feel like you could have done something wrong and there's some unfinished business that you may perceive that you didn't complete, you can sometimes dream about that. You know, don't read too much into it, meaning that there's something else that you need to do or something else that can be done. All right? And that's what, and that's just my opinion on that. Let me see. Let me try and answer. Can you mention your opinion on narcissistic behavior? Narcissistic behavior in regards to criminal. Good question, Sunshine. In regards to criminal stuff, here's the thing with this, guys. Narcissists are, a lot of the stuff that they do when it comes to criminal behavior, they tend to know how to ride just along. It's a very fine line, but they know how to get just up to the point where they know that they can't be prosecuted in some sorts. They're not dumb in any way, guys. Okay, they know what they're doing, and so they'll do enough just to, you know, just to push it to the limit, but they're not going to engage in anything where they're going to get themselves in trouble typically. Although there has been cases of narcissists actually killing. So it can happen. So just keep in mind that, you know, narcissists do have the potentiality to engage in greater capacities of criminal behavior, but typically they stay in a certain range of just psychological and emotional abuse. So, Larice from Colorado, how you doing? Or Larac, I don't know if I pronounced your name correctly, but how you doing? So I'm just reading some of these guys, but I think in a lot of times, why doesn't a new supply believe you? Why doesn't the new supply believe you? You mean as the narcissist, or I'm not exactly sure about that question. Profile. You know what? With the narcissist, a lot of them do have other, and I was talking to the doctor about this, a lot of them do display traits of sociopath and psychopathic traits too. A lot of narcissists have other traits of the cluster B disorders as well. You know, so some can be narcissistic and psychopathic at the same time. So these things, it's not, and in most cases they do, it's not just a singular thing. Narcissists have, other disorders that are attached to them as well. That's why these guys are so, and according to him, he's the doctor, he said he believes that they're the worst out of all of them. It's so unpredictable and so impulsive that you don't know what's coming from one minute to the next from them. So, I mean, it's something to think about. Something to think about. So, let's see. Let's not progress. You know what? In a lot of cases, there was a documentary, I've seen it somewhere. It was I think it was a 17-year-old kid. I think it was out of the UK. He murdered his parents, both of them. And then after that, he went on he had a tennis tournament he was doing with his school or something like that. But he was he was actually diagnosed with narcissistic personality disorder, and he did kill. He did murder. So, I mean, they are capable of killing people. Certain things can trigger them, and they are capable of doing some other types of harm to people. So just be mindful of that, guys. I mean, you can't underestimate these individuals at all. So I just wanted to also put that out there too. I used to see cars in accident panic. I used to see cars like that. Panic attacks that you guys may have after dealing with a narcissist. Some of you will develop a little bit of complex post-traumatic disorder, post-traumatic stress disorder at least. Some of you will develop that, and it can. I won't say you can't fully heal, but it'll be an uphill battle, because even after the narcissist is gone, a lot of you will experience flashbacks of situations with other individuals that had nothing to do with what was going on at the time, but you'll go through that and you'll react, and it's not like you're reacting off of this this individual that you're with now, but because you've went through a situation with them, it just shows you're not healed. Okay, and when you're not healed and you've went through something with an individual who does play, because it's the game plan that really gets to you, because you don't know, your reality is so altered, you don't know if someone's being serious, if they're not being serious, so now you become hypervigilant. And I think this is one of the biggest things that can be transferred from the experience when dealing with a narcissist, is that now you're hypervigilant. Now you're hypersensitive in a lot of ways, and now you're reacting to things that you probably shouldn't be reacting to, but you find yourself reacting almost instinctually. And it's all about protecting yourself. So it's basically your own body trying to your mental reaction of protecting yourself, at least. So a lot of people do develop that after a while from dealing or coming out of an abusive relationship. Trying to get through these guys. If anyone wants, someone mentioned about consultation, you can go to my website. It's the www.asscdirect.com, and there's information on there about how to set up a consultation with me on there. You can email me at asscdirect@gmail. But they seem they present all as drug, sex addicts. You know what? I have found that common, Sandy, that a lot of narcissists are major sex addicts. A lot of them are very engaged in a lot of porn, stuff like that, excessively. Like, they'll be in a relationship with you and you'll see them still very into other sexual deviant type things. And so I don't know why that is, but a lot of them have an over-sexed sex drive. I think that's where a lot of the cheating comes from. So much of them, it's like they can never get enough, and they're always thinking about it, or they're always trying to relate something back to something sexual, and it's So I think some of them do develop, and especially with them, it's worse because they're so impulsive and they don't have any type of discipline in that area, and having that, being impulsive, and then having the immaturity and the lack of judgment. At least a lot of these individuals don't even use protection. They're very reckless with their sexuality as well. And that's another thing you got to watch out for, guys. If you're dealing with one, don't put it past them that they're having unprotected sex and being reckless with their sexual activities with someone else. So I know we kind of got off topic, guys, but that's just something to think about when you're dealing with them. You can't, think that if you do have a narcissist, or some of you are still engaged with them, please do protect yourself. Because I can guarantee you, a lot of their activities will come back to haunt you in some kind of way. And that's just the truth, I'm going to wrap this video up, guys. Just wanted to kind of put that out. Hey, again, thank you all for the support. I applaud, and I'm proud of all of you, at least, who have put in the effort to help yourselves. I mean, good job. Give yourselves a hand.